Hey, what's up? Welcome back to another edition of The Mandatory. Remember, if you like the content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. You can also follow us on our social media channels. You'll see on the screen if you're watching this on YouTube, the ways that you can connect with us. If you're listening to this on the audio side, because you can find us on the audio side, you can see in the description below the ways that you can connect with us as well. And if you've already done all of that, we just want to say thank you so much. Remember, every time you hit that like or subscribe button or you share a video, it helps the channel grow. And also, if you're on the audio side, leave a rate and review, give us a 5-star because that helps the channel grow as well. Lots to get into. It's a pretty great boxing weekend in terms of a card that's coming up on Saturday in San Antonio, Texas. And we also have some news that we're going to dive into because somebody who was supposed to fight this weekend tested positive for PEDs. And we're going to be getting into that. You might already know, but, I'm just trying to tease it a little bit. And we also got the news. Let's start off with this first, actually, before the card that's going down in San Antonio, Texas, Bryan. But Teofimo Lopez and Shakur Stevenson, they will be fighting January 31st. And this is a fight that is going down. I believe, is Shakur moving up then to 140 pounds? Yes, he sure is. So Shakur Stevenson moving up to 140, fighting Teofimo Lopez. And, there were rumors that this fight was going to happen. I didn't know because boxing is going to be boxing sometimes, but it's going down. And this is going to be one of the biggest fights of the year. Bryan, just in terms of hearing about this fight, what are your initial thoughts?
Locally, this has been talked about for a little bit. I had heard from a publicist who's not even working with either fighter, but is, I would say, well connected around this area, especially. And she had told me, yeah, like this is happening. This is going to be in New York City, probably at Madison Square Garden, it looks like, but we don't, that part is not yet official. It's just being New York City right now. We know that PBC tends to do their events in Barclays Center when they come to New York. And we know that Top Rank, Matchroom, and others tend to do theirs at the Garden, often at the theater lately, but this, from what I've heard, may be at the Garden, and from what I've read as well. But that's something that's been going on for a while. I think that the best fight, we've talked about this, maybe the best fight you can make in boxing is Shakur versus Tank. The more time goes, the more it feels like, Lamont Roach even said this week in an interview with Ariel Helwani, he thinks Tank is pretty much done. Yeah. I don't know if Tank is done, but it wouldn't surprise me at this point. And I think if we're not getting Shakur Stevenson and Gervonta Davis, I think this is a damn good consolation. This is actually one of the more interesting fights you could make right now, just in terms of like guys that a lot of y'all can't stand, and guys who are immensely talented, and I would say frustrating on some level. But to me, this is a great fight on paper. Stylistically, we may have some questions. IMPK writes in the chat that he thinks this will be a snooze fest and Shakur Stevenson will win. And I think a lot of people are there are at least a healthy amount of people who agree with that. But I think just as a fight, it's a great fight on paper.
Yeah, going back to IMPK 13's comment about the Shakur Stevenson will win a snooze fest, I think that's a possibility that this fight could be a snooze fest. But I also think styles make fights, and depending on what Teofimo Lopez we get, I think it could be a very, very interesting fight. And that's the thing. We don't know what type of Teofimo Lopez we're going to get, but this is arguably his biggest fight. Arguably, in terms, like Loma was a big fight. Teo has been in big fights, right? Josh Taylor was a big fight, but Shakur Stevenson, the aura behind him is how great he is. But at the same time, we haven't really seen Shakur against really, really, really tough competition, Bryan, if we were to bring up, their resumes. And so it's really more so for Shakur Stevenson to really prove that he's that guy. We know how good he is, but this is a real test for Shakur Stevenson. And let me tell you something. If Shakur Stevenson ends up winning by a masterclass performance, which I also think is a very big chance he could do that, I think we would have to stop talking about Shakur Stevenson. Now, the way he will do it, it will be interesting because for some people, it's not always going to be entertaining. And that's the biggest thing. But here's another thing too. Teofimo Lopez, he has lulls in his fights. Like there's times where he's being very active and busy in the fight and his work rate is good. And then there's times during the fight where he just kind of falls off a little bit, takes a few rounds off. I don't think he can do that in this fight, Bryan. So this is a very interesting fight. I'm going to say it right now. I don't think anyone gets knocked out in this fight. I think it goes to the cards. And if it goes to the cards, I think Shakur wins. But if Teofimo Lopez can be that Teofimo Lopez that we know he could be, he can make this fight really interesting. And we know Teo has power, but have we really seen it at 140 pounds against Pedro Campa? Yeah, but that was his first fight at 140 pounds against Pedro Campa. Other than that, we haven't really seen it. There's questions about Teo in this weight class too. Teofimo Lopez has a lot to prove in this fight. And if Teo can get it done against Shakur, that's a whole different other conversation, Bryan.
You mentioned something that I think we should stay on this for a couple minutes. Teofimo Lopez quietly, like it's interesting. I think Shakur Stevenson will be, as a matter of fact, I will pull up to see if there are odds available now that this is official as I'm talking. But I do think Shakur Stevenson is going to be sort of the popular pick for a lot of people.
Slight favorite, I think.
And at the very beginning, it may be 50-50. We'll see, but I'm going to pull it up right now. You mentioned, though, more importantly, Teofimo Lopez has the better resume.
I've said this before. Teofimo Lopez has one of the best resumes in boxing. And despite the George Kambosos thing where we know he didn't try.
That's the thing.
That's the only thing. But other than that,
no, he tried. Lopez, he just tried stupidly. That was the problem.
I don't think he tried at all. I think the only thing he tried to do was get into the ring and knock him out. Yeah, that's literally what he did. He had no game plan. He was just like, it's George Kambosos. I'm going to come in here and listen. It is what it is, right? But he did not prepare for that fight.
Oh, we have odds. Oh, really?
Is Teo the favorite?
No, not at all. This is
it like a huge...
all right. We're gonna share a screen for the first time today because you know we love doing this. Shakur Stevenson is minus 350.
I think that's disrespectful to Teo. I would look at Teo's like odds there and like I would just bet on it. Bet on the money line.
I get it. I get not to you. I get it that people love Shakur here because you know what you're gonna get. Teofimo Lopez, you don't. Like that matters. But
friend of the show, Ryan Hong says Teo plus 300. Like
that's probably
that's crazy.
I have an idea of which one too. Let me see if it's this one. But yeah, like I'm a little surprised at that. Even though I would acknowledge, like, yes, Shakur Stevenson should be the favorite just in terms of trustworthiness, reliability, counterpunching ability. Shantelle, we've talked about the things that frustrate Teofimo Lopez: movement, counterpunching, guys being overly defensive, Sandor Martin, Jermaine Ortiz, and Shakur Stevenson could do what they did and amplify it to a greater degree and obviously be better. He's better than those guys. He just is. And Jermaine Ortiz is good. We like him up here, and we like Sandor Martin as well. Shakur Stevenson's different. That being said, we've seen Teofimo Lopez put it all together. We haven't seen it in a while. He kind of coasted in the Arnold Barbosa fight, but the Josh Taylor performance, the Lomachenko performance, and the performances leading up to the Lomachenko performance, like we've seen him have these sensational performances. It's just, I'm a little surprised that he's basically a 3-1 underdog for this. That it's that far. I expected it closer. I probably expected Shakur 2-1 at most, maybe even inside of that. And I need to see what it opened at. Because it may have already moved significantly already, because a lot of people tend to think Shakur Stevenson will win this fight, which again, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised at all. Ryan Hong, friend of the show, by the way, says, I got Teo for the upset. He says he always steps up big for the big fights. I do agree with those sentiments. I think Teofimo Lopez, when it is a big fight, like look at what he did to Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor was undisputed at one point. And Teofimo Lopez had arguably one of his best performances in his career against Josh Taylor. Now, the questions for Josh Taylor, though, was number one, he couldn't knock out Josh Taylor. There were moments, he had great moments in that fight, but also Josh Taylor wasn't the same Josh Taylor at that point, right? I think you could kind of say that.
Long way off.
Yeah, so there could be questions with that. But listen, I think for Shakur Stevenson, there's so much on the line in this fight. And for Teofimo Lopez, I think they both have something really to prove. But if we're just going based off skill, and it's hard to go against Shakur because he has the IQ, but he's never been in the ring with a guy like Teofimo Lopez before. And Teo's one of those, you don't know what you're going to get from him. And I think that's the worst part, right? Like I don't know what type of Teofimo Lopez we're gonna get, but when Teo is at his best, I think he's arguably the best at 140.
It's not arguable.
Yeah. Well, if Shakur comes up,
right, the winner of
that's what I'm
this will
saying.
kind of like what we said about Haney and Norman, where the winner of this, because of the state of the division, more so for that weight class, the winner of this is the best welterweight in the world. But at Teofimo's weight class, it's him, it's Subriel Matias, who he may still go on to fight despite the adverse finding. We're still getting clarity on that. He maintains his innocence. And apparently, I have the tweets. We could pull that up later for clarification. But Dan Rafael said this is different than Ryan Garcia, where Ryan Garcia is like way above the limit allowed. Subriel Matias is like right there on the border, apparently. So we'll see what ultimately comes of that. But for now, he is active and fighting in the same month, actually, January 10th, my birthday, actually. And then you have Gary Antoine Russell, who's really good in his last fight. And Richardson Hitchens, who has now been a champion, has now defended the title. So, like, it's a better weight class than 147. But yeah, I think Teofimo Lopez is clearly the guy there. And then, sneakily enough, you also still have Keyshawn Davis, or not still have, you now have Keyshawn Davis, who moved up to 135, who we haven't seen yet at 140, who I think he's the
Teo's
guy
still the
for
best.
me.
Yeah, I still
I
think
was
right
gonna
now
say,
Teo's the best.
no, I agree, but he's the guy for me. Like in the event Teofimo Lopez wins this, and
Yeah.
assuming there's not a rematch, I think Keyshawn. I mean, the rankings will even suggest that, but Keyshawn will be like next because I don't think Keyshawn and Shakur are fighting each other.
No, yeah, because they're good friends, aren't they? I thought
Yeah,
Keyshawn and Shakur were good friends. You never know though, because Shakur is extremely competitive. But it's funny because I was watching a couple of social media clips before I got on here while I was waiting for Bryan, and there was one where Shakur just looks so calm, and he's like, "I've already figured out how to beat you." You know, like the back and forth, is going to be so good for this fight. And remember, these are two guys that love to talk, and Shakur was just like, "I already know how to beat you." Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I believe Shakur knows how to beat him.
probably,
I really
but
do. Because here's the thing, like who did oh yeah, so Teofimo Lopez fought Arnold Barbosa Jr. in his last fight.
yeah,
Now, I feel like we saw the skill difference in that fight. And that was really, really Arnold Barbosa's like toughest test ever. And this is after, Arnold Barbosa became a champ. There was one fight on his resume where very, very questionable, but we won't get into that because it's not about Arnold Barbosa Jr. But Teo in that fight, though, there were moments in that fight where there were lulls. Like you can't do that against Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson is going to pick you apart. So Teofimo Lopez, for the entire duration of the fight, has to be on Bryan. He has to fight the most perfect fight. And I wonder if we're going to see more of that power because I don't know if we've really seen it. Like, I don't want another. Okay, here's a great example. Do you think this could be another performance similar to like a Steve Claggett?
no, because Shakur is not going to offer the same fight. But I get what you're saying. I think ultimately though, because you mentioned Teofimo can't have lulls, there will be lulls in a Shakur Stevenson fight.
And both
And
sides, both sides.
correct. And it's up to Teofimo Lopez, really both of them, but it's up to Teofimo Lopez to see how he's going to navigate it. Like, I kind of think Teofimo
Jermaine
Lopez,
Ortiz. Is it gonna be like Jermaine Ortiz and Teofimo Lopez?
really, like, it could be. And I think I think what you want, if you're in this for excitement, like, if you want to see a fight, if you don't care about the sweet science or if you don't care for
Yeah.
counterpunching or any of those things, I think what you want to see is you want to see Teofimo Lopez specifically make this a nasty clinching inside fight. Just kind of make it almost a little bit dirty in there. Like make Shakur Stevenson uncomfortable. Like make Shakur Stevenson fight. Now, he doesn't have a lot on his resume that would suggest that's how he's going to do it. Even when he picked apart Vasily Lomachenko, it was more so, it was just boxing. It was just being quicker, being more aggressive, especially early on in the fight. and being able to take advantage of the lulls that Lomachenko had in his game. So I do think he's going to have to be aggressive here. And we're seeing in the chat now, Ryan Hong's got Tio. Shout out to my boy Hector. He's in here. Wonder who he has for this. 610 Nas says he's picking Tio also. And
Ooh.
I think there's a word like Teofimo Lopez. Like I think people are not going to give him enough credit, and I get it because he's character-wise probably not like the most awesome person to root for a lot of people, but boxing is boxing and there's a lot of dickheads in the sport. But what I would tell you is with Teofimo Lopez, like he is absolutely the most talented guy Shakur Stevenson's seen. Like Shakur Stevenson's best win is Oscar Valdez. William Zepeda is somewhere up there. Jamel Herring is somewhere up there. But Teofimo Lopez is better than all of these guys at his best. But
Yeah.
what Teofimo are we going to get is the question we're going to be asking ourselves for the next 2 months, because that's what this fight's going to depend on. Because I do think the best, I would lean Shakur because I trust him more, but the best version of Teofimo Lopez is absolutely good enough to win this fight.
Yeah. And that's the thing why this fight is so interesting. Here's the thing. I think we're going to get the best version of Teo. But I think I'm just really, really high on Shakur Stevenson. And I've said this before. I've said this before. I don't know who's going to beat Shakur Stevenson because I think he's that damn good. And sometimes in boxing, as much as we want to see the entertainment, as much as we want to see people get knocked out, sometimes we're not going to get that in boxing fights. I think Shakur is going to be a little bit more careful with Teo than we think.
Do you care that Shakur Stevenson's training with Terrence Crawford, and obviously has a line to Andre Ward? Like, do you care about, he's spending this time around the greats? Because that doesn't always translate. You know what I mean? Like,
I do think the one thing that we haven't seen from Shakur is like the power, because I think he's still pretty young, and I still think like we haven't seen his full power yet. And he's actually like you look at his build, right? He's a bigger dude. Like he is going to be a welterweight at some point, Shakur Stevenson for sure. And so I want to see how his power is at 140, because that could be dangerous. He's a bigger guy, like just physically. Like he's bigger than Teofimo Lopez. And he's going to look a lot bigger in the ring than Teofimo Lopez on fight night.
Who do you think is older between the two of them?
Teo.
Shockingly enough.
Yeah,
Shakur Stevens is older than him by a month.
By 1 month. Okay. Yeah.
So they're both
That's
28. Because when you said that, I'm like, Teofimo's still young, isn't he? He's just been
more active.
Yeah, he's been at this level for longer from a professional boxing standpoint. Because when he had the knockout over Richard Commey, Shakur Stevenson wasn't yet a champion, although they were both coming up through Top Rank. He was on his way also. Teofimo Lopez got to more faster than Shakur Stevenson did at the professional level, even though Shakur Stevenson was obviously an excellent amateur who got a silver medal in the Olympics, who had commercials during the Olympics. Like they were hyping him up as like a big American star even then. I think also timeline wise, it's perfect. It's like you have two guys who are 28. I heard a couple people say, hey, this will determine like who's the face of the next generation. I don't think it needs to be that deep. I feel like the winner could also just be a face now. You know what I mean? Because they're 28, they're in their prime. So that's the most interesting thing about this too. It's like you have two guys in their prime. But I do wonder, because I remember Floyd Mayweather said this a long time ago, and it's one of the only things that he said that's truly stuck with me, because he says a lot of bonehead shit. But he did say one time about, I'm forgetting who it was, but he said, if this person figured you out, then I'm definitely going to figure you out, which means if you have a loss already, you're not going to beat me. And I do wonder if Shakur Stevenson is one of those guys where it's like, if you're going to beat him, you probably, like the George Kambosos loss, that
But
could be something that haunts Teofimo here.
But here's the thing. It's like, I don't care about losses. I don't care about this. Like we don't know. We actually do know that Teofimo Lopez was going through things mentally. That's life, man. And sometimes you're just not able to deal with things. When Teo is at his best, he's arguably one of the best boxers in the game in his weight class. So it's like, things like that happen. Like, I don't care about O's. Like, my favorite boxers all have L's. So I could care less about that. Like, I think it just comes down to what version of Teofimo Lopez we're gonna get. And if it's the best version, Shakur might have himself, a tougher night. But it's really hard to not go with Shakur because of the skill and the way that he fights and how good he is defensively. Like, it could be a masterclass performance. It could be like, man, he look at what like I'm not gonna even compare Teofimo Lopez to Brian Norman Jr. because like Devin put on like a ridiculous performance against him. But Shakur's that good. Like I think Shakur could make anybody look bad. And maybe I'm just like really, really high. And I do agree with Ryan Hong's comment, who says Shakur has never seen anything like Teo. Agreed. 100%. But I'm very high on Teofimo Lopez. I've said this. I don't know who's going to beat him. And I've even said, like, I could see him going undefeated like Mayweather. And maybe that's just me saying too much and giving him too much credit, even though we haven't seen, there's not that big of a sample size and we need to see more. But every time Shakur's in the ring, like, he wins. He's smart. He has the IQ. He has a great jab. He has great defense. Like, he might get into the ring and Teofimo is going to have to try to, close the gap and try to cut him off and land shots on him. Well, guess what? Shakur Stevenson is great defensively. He's not going to get hit and he's going to hit you. Like, it's going to be a tough fight for Teofimo Lopez. Like, and here's the thing. If Shakur doesn't want to engage, he's not going to engage. Right? So that's the thing. This could be a snooze fest. This could be Shakur cruising to a win. And same thing like, the Jermaine Ortiz fight. Teo got it done, but that was I think we did a post-fight show for that. I think I almost fell asleep during that fight. It was so bad. But here's the thing. It's like Jermaine Ortiz also didn't really try to like be that aggressive against Teo. Whereas I think Shakur is going to try not to get hit, but he's going to land as well. So it's very, very interesting. But if I'm Shakur Stevenson, I don't want this to be a snooze fest. Because if I'm Shakur Stevenson and I know how great I am, I also want to be able to sell fights. You cannot be boring in this fight. Not in this one against Teofimo Lopez. You have to give the fans a fight. And I think Shakur Stevenson knows that. He hates it when people call him boring. He talks way too much on Twitter. He doesn't have to do that.
You know what, though? That's the thing that could get him a loss if he cares about that shit that much. Like, that's the shit that gets you caught. Look, if you win and it's boring, you're still winning anyway.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Like, you're going to make money. You're going to be the champion, like whatever. It's not to say if Shakur Stevenson wins, it has to be a boring fight, but I don't think Teofimo Lopez is going to win if the fight is boring. That's what I'll say. I think he needs to make it interesting. He needs to hurt Shakur Stevenson, particularly to the body, be the aggressor, cut off the ring, being able to, like, he can hit you from some weird angles. He did this to Josh Taylor repeatedly, where he would land his right hand in spots that Josh Taylor didn't even expect, despite his height and reach advantages. Like, Teofimo Lopez can do some of that stuff to Shakur Stevenson. And he beat, look, again, I said, look, he lost to Kambosos, and it's like, is he really going to beat Shakur Stevenson? But he beat Lomachenko, like, at the same time. But that's what makes him the ultimate wild card in this sport. Like, he literally, he's like an NBA player that can give you 40 one night and then give you 10 the next night. It just is what it is. Like, that's what Teofimo Lopez is.
That was Loma in his prime. It wasn't washed Loma. Loma was arguably, like, people were like, he's pound for pound number one at that time.
He's the only guy that beat Lomachenko convincingly. He's the only one.
The only guy. Yeah. The only one. And so when I think about that, you think about Loma's footwork. But the thing about it is, like, Loma wasn't someone that was, like, scared to get hit. Like, Loma was, Loma was about that action. Like, he had great footwork. He was going to land a jab. He was going to hit you to the body. It's like Shakur might not want to get hit. And he might just play the defensive game. Because that first round, I think they're both going to try to feel each other out. But I think Teofimo Lopez has to be a little bit more aggressive. 6'10" Nas says, this is a great comment. Teo fought Sandor when Haney didn't want to. Dug deep, beat him, and then fought another southpaw and Jermaine 2 fights later. It's true. Sandor Martin is such a tricky fighter. And remember, that was the fight where Teofimo Lopez was like, do I still got it? Like,
imagine Devin Haney versus Sandor Martin. Oh my God.
Oh my God. I'm gonna stop though with the Devin Haney hate though. Or not even hate, but like, he continues to like prove that he's so great. And after that Brian Norman Jr. fight where he just made Brian Norman Jr. look like an amateur, because that's what he did, I'm going to stop saying anything about Haney. Like, for now. Like, I just can't do it.
Get to you? Is that what it was?
No, I think dude, look what he did to Brian Norman Jr. I was literally on the show like, yo, I think he might knock out Devin Haney. I said that. And then Devin Haney made him look like an amateur. Devin Haney made him look terrible in that fight. Like the skill difference was massive in that fight. Yeah. And now we're sitting here like, yo, oh yeah, Devin Haney's for sure the best at 147 pounds. It's just that fight with Ryan Garcia, right? That I think twisted everyone's mind a little bit. And I mean, listen, we are going to be
fight too. Also, a lot of people, you and I
thought
didn't.
That. I thought Haney did enough in that fight.
Yeah, me too. Which is funny when
Haney,
people would say, "Oh, like you guys are hard on Devin Haney, whatever." And I'm like, we're two of the only people that thought he beat Lomachenko with microphones. But a lot of people did think Lomachenko won that fight. To be fair, so there's that. The other thing I want to say, and then we got to move on to obviously the card itself. The odds that I showed you is what they opened at, so there's been no movement. So Teofimo Lopez, is not a heavy underdog for boxing betting, but an underdog no less. So if you do like him, you can get a near 3-1 out there. Apparently, Jesus also comments, by the way, that Edwin De Los Santos would beat Stevenson. Or no, that he beat Stevenson rather, because remember they did have that boring ass fight a while ago. I don't think Shakur lost that fight, but it was close from the standpoint of nobody really did anything, and it was historically awful. And yeah, I'm hoping it's not that. Shakur Stevenson showed a willingness against William Zepeda to fight a little bit more on the inside and appease people for a few rounds, and then he was like, all right, enough of that shit. But also William Zepeda, like he's the type of dude where it's like good luck keeping him off you for 12 rounds. You had to kind of play ball a little bit, but then once we saw William Zepeda in the exchanges, we were like, oh, he has nothing really defensively, and it's not as much of a power puncher as he's a volume puncher. So Shakur Stevenson will be fine. Teofimo Lopez, though, oh man, it's one of the most interesting fights you can make in boxing. It is, and the winner is going to be on everybody's pound for pound list. Both of these guys might already be on a lot of people's pound for pound lists. So
yeah, so drop your comments. Let us know how you're going to be betting this fight, who you got in this fight, and tell us why, because we want to see your comments. And by the way, let us know if you're going to bet on this fight earlier because of the odds, because they're going to change. But this fight, very interesting, and it's in New York City, so that's going to be the cool part. It's at the Garden, is it not?
Supposed to be, but that hasn't been confirmed yet. Although Bob Arum is listed as the promoter, and we know that Turk and all of them are behind it. So I think Bob Arum means Garden, but Turk could also mean that they try to do this in, I don't know, the middle of somewhere again.
Well, we're going to find out, but there is a great fight night coming up this Saturday in San Antonio, Texas. Isaac Pitbull Cruz and Lamont Roach. The entire card is absolutely stacked, in my opinion. This is not even my favorite fight of the night. My favorite fight of the night is Cool Boy Steph and O'Shaquie Foster. But Brian, let's actually bring up the entire card. If you can share your screen, because we're going to get into this. And Isaac Cruz, we're also going to talk about the odds for this fight as well. But as Brian brings it up here on his screen, this might not be in the correct order, I believe. Correct, Brian?
Yeah, BoxRec usually, interestingly enough, though, the fight with Erislandy Lara and Janibek
is off there, right?
Is already off.
Yes. So let's get into that.
Yeah, if you missed it, there is, and actually, let's actually do this right now, because there hasn't been, at least to where we started, there hasn't been confirmation that the fight is definitely off, but there was an adverse finding in Janibek's test. Dan Rafael, here we go, obtained a copy of the VADA report on Janibek, who tested positive for a banned PED, meldonium. Okay, so not Austrine, which we've been getting a lot of lately in this sport, but meldonium. His unification is off officially. Okay, so there we go. So this just came out literally as we were starting, saving it for here. So the fight is off with Janibek and Erislandy Lara. PBC is lining up a replacement for Lara, and this is the letter. Although the quality that Dan posted isn't great, but it is what it is. Letters to advise you that the A's sample collected on November 15th, so this would have been a couple weeks ago at this point, by VADA, has been analyzed for banned substances. So he will not be fighting. I wonder if he'll be stripped of his multiple middleweight championships, because let's remember he has 2 of them, not just 1. And I wonder what this does for Terrence Crawford, because it looked like this was gearing up to unify, and then Terrence Crawford would maybe try to unify at middleweight. Where's Carlos Adames? Is Elijah Garcia going to be a replacement opponent? Like what there's going to be some moving parts. I don't know. I don't expect a ton. It sucks because I was looking forward to that fight very much. Erislandy Lara has quietly been WBA middleweight champion, but hasn't fought anyone of note in a while, outside of Danny Garcia. But that version of Danny Garcia, let's be serious, he's also not a fucking middleweight. But
Yeah.
this puts a dent in a card that is still pretty stacked. Like, it's still a good card, an interesting card. I was surprised, actually, Shantelle, when I looked at the card. I was looking at it last night. I was like, yo, there's some shit on here. Even when you go to like the undercard where you have like Frank Martin and Francis Barthélemy,
Yeah.
for example.
I was just about to say that.
Interesting fight.
What's called Frank Martin. It's very interesting because I want to see how he looks like in this fight. Because Barthélemy is a guy that's very tricky. He's a tricky fighter, tough fighter.
Yeah.
And so let's get. Sorry, go ahead.
But first, what do you think about like the whole Janibek situation? He might get stripped of his titles at this point.
I mean, he should get stripped of his titles at this point. I think for a guy like Janibek, I think it's bad because for a long time, people are like, he's the boogeyman of this division. He's so good. Who has he fought?
Denzel Bentley.
That's his best? Like, that's terrible. Like, what are we talking about here? Erislandy Lara would have been a very good tough test for him. And I think there's a lot of talent there, but we still don't know enough. And he's sneakily getting old. That's the thing. He's sneakily getting old, and we don't really actually know how good he is. So
32.
For this to happen, and he'll probably serve a suspension too after this. There has to be a suspension after this. So they're gonna strip him of his titles. They're gonna suspend him, and then he gets older, and then he comes back. It's not a good look for him, and it's unfortunate. I was looking forward to that fight. I wanted to see how good Janibek really was against a guy like Lara, who's crafty, has a high IQ.
Here's his resume.
It's disappointing. Yeah.
Here's his resume if you want it. Danny Dignam, the Denzel Bentley one, I shout out like kind of jokingly, but also Denzel Bentley one, he's not bad. Like, he's legitimately not bad. And this is a fight where Janibek, I remember the odds. We may have talked about this. We weren't doing the show yet, but we talked about this. He was like favored or expected to, odds wise, knock out Bentley very early. And then people were surprised that Bentley went all 12 rounds and was fairly competitive, won, I would say 4 rounds in that fight or something along those lines. And then your boy Stephen Butler, Vincenzo Gualtieri, like it's just like cool. But this is kind of like very, very, very early Triple G before Triple G like went into full fucking Triple G mode where he was knocking out like even Danny Lemieux and some other guys down the line. The difference is Triple G was not 32 years old already, when but like he was an older champion by the time he reached his peak. Like, his peak came a little bit later, but by the time he had a title for a while, as Janibek did, he had already had better competition under his belt. And I mentioned Triple G because that's kind of a guy that Janibek's been compared to a little bit from a boogeyman standpoint, from a power standpoint, from a finishing ability standpoint. But I don't know if that's there. is what I would say to that. And I think the Erislandy Lara fight, even though Lara's old, we may have found out some things, but you and I, Shantelle, were sneakily like, Lara might win this fight. So
yeah, like honestly, I really like Erislandy Lara, so I was just gonna enjoy that fight, but it's already off BoxRec, and we're probably gonna find out a little bit more information, even about the amounts of Osterine. That's the same. It's Osterine that was on, right?
No. You're confusing it with the many other boxers who have tested positive for Osterine lately. So,
because didn't someone else just recently test positive for Osterine?
Subriel Matias.
Okay, yeah.
But the amount was like Ryan Garcia's was, according to Dan Rafael, 60 times the allowed amount, whereas Subriel was like right on the border, so he may actually still fight. We'll see what happens there. He maintains his innocence, but like, who isn't going to? But
you gotta know what you're putting into your body.
With Janibek, it's Meldonium. So it's not Osterine.
Okay.
Osterine is much more common in terms of performance enhancing
Meldonium is it?
substances.
Meldonium is it? It's not. That's bad.
Yeah. It's
And they're gonna see how much, like the amounts of how much was in his body too.
yeah.
That's really really telling. Ryan Hong says, everyone's eating Osterine and blaming it on pre workout. Mattia's been on that since. Okay, yeah, it's true. So and that's what I said. It's pre workout. It's literally in pre workout Osterine.
Yeah, but you can't take too much of it.
No, you can't. Like
That's where this other drug though, meldonium, it's been banned by World Anti-Doping for at least 9 years, maybe longer than that, and apparently was developed in Europe. So we'll see what happens. But otherwise on the card, look, I mean, what do we think? Isaac
well,
Cruz,
let's
Lamont Roach. We could start with the
yeah.
top, but this is legitimately a good fight. But you and I have not been the highest on Isaac Cruz's most recent performances.
The thing about Isaac Cruz though is that his fan base is crazy. Like he's got
Yeah,
a great fan base.
in a good
He's an
way.
exciting fighter. He likes to come forward. He has a high work rate. I don't really think that he has this like crazy power that everyone talks about, but he does have pop in his power, like punches. I don't believe it's like straight up knockout power unless it's like someone that he's fighting that is like a couple of tiers below him. But I don't think he knocks out a guy like Lamont Roach. Lamont Roach to me really impressed me in that Tank fight. I'm gonna lean Roach here to win by decision, Brian.
Mm. He impressed us in the Hector Luis Garcia fight too, because we were
Yeah.
like, "Yo, Hector Luis Garcia is actually like not bad. He's pretty good. He boxed well against Tank for the duration of that fight up until Tank started kicking it into gear, and then Hector Luis Garcia couldn't see anymore, and we've barely seen him since." But Isaac Cruz, yeah, to your point, I mean, he appears to be a vicious body puncher, but at the same time, his actual knockout ratio wouldn't indicate that. And for whatever reason, this is a 140-pound championship fight. This is a
Yeah.
interim world super lightweight championship fight
Yeah.
from a
So
dude
Roach moved
who,
up. Yeah.
again, he's a champion
Yeah.
at 130 still. And Isaac Cruz has been a 135er, recently converted to 140, converted like I'm talking about him switching religions, but you know what I mean. He is not somebody who's like a true 140 pounder, it feels like. So okay, guys don't have to cut as much. It's a weird fight from a weight class perspective, but I don't want to over index on Lamont Roach's most recent performance, but I do think he was underrated for some time. I think that's fair to say, and we've learned that at this point. He stood in the pocket with Tank and outboxed them in stretches. Probably should have won that fight given the controversy surrounding
He
it, or at
did
the very
win.
least earn a draw.
He did win. It was 7-5. He did.
It was
I had him winning 7-5. I watched that fight at least 6 times and I get the same result every time. Every time. So, just saying.
And yeah, to me, I think Tank is going to be like the popular choice. I think a lot of people will say, "Hey, Tank's going to knock him out, whatever." But I mean, Isaac Cruz, my bad.
I mean, Tank has more power than Isaac Cruz.
By a lot.
Tank has like this ridiculous raw power, and Roach took it. But also keep in mind though that Tank and Roach fought each other a lot during the amateurs, right? They grew up together. They knew each other. Like they fought like 3 times, I think, or like 2 times, and they split. I forget what it was, but like Lamont Roach knew Tank before.
You want the odds?
Yeah, I would love the odds to this fight. I'm taking Roach here. I think skill wise, he's better. I think because Isaac Cruz has a problem with cutting off the ring at times and he's super one dimensional, like Lamont Roach is going to be more successful. Now, it could be a close fight in terms of how the judges are going to be scoring it because Lamont Roach does get hit. And we know Pitbull Cruz has a high work rate. He's going to come forward. He's going to try to cut off the ring. But is he going to be able to do that against a guy like Lamont Roach, who is skilled and, does have a good jab, is going to be able to get to the body, mix it up? That's what I want to actually see from a guy like Pitbull Cruz, though. I would like to see him mix it up in this fight. And I also want to see if he got better defensively.
Don't hold your breath. Odds, Lamont Roach, minus 260. Isaac Cruz, plus 190.
Ooh, so like if I look at those odds, I like the odds for Isaac Cruz, like just in terms of like betting, right? I'd be like, that's interesting because like We know the
Lamont
work rate's going to be high.
Lamont Roach by decision, minus 135.
Okay,
I think
so
that's going to be the popular pick for a lot of people who, I mean, if you're backing Lamont Roach, I don't think you're taking him to win by knockout with all due
no.
respect to his power. Isaac Cruz by stoppage plus 650. So Vegas here is kind of like they're agreeing with what I'm saying about Isaac Cruz's power being overrated essentially, but even like going harder about it, because this is telling me Vegas and the bettors don't think that Isaac Cruz is going to get the stop, or it's highly unlikely that he does. Like the implied percentage is smaller. Lamont, to the point where Lamont Roach is actually plus 500 to win by stoppage. So Lamont Roach is shorter odds to win by stoppage than Isaac Cruz. Okay, now I'm kind of like, all right, are we sure about this? But
yeah,
I do think Lamont Roach is better all around, and Isaac Cruz, kind of similar to what we were talking about with Teofimo Lopez. Like, you're going to have to get Lamont Roach. You're going to have to hit him in the body. You're going to have to make him uncomfortable. And Lamont Roach is somebody who, to his credit, we don't give guys enough credit for improving. He has legitimately improved. He's 30 now. When he lost earlier in his career, and when he had those draws earlier in his career, although the Orlando Cruz one in particular was bullshit, because he kind of got robbed there. The Jamel Herring one, for example, like he's a guy that lost Jamel Herring and kind of going away to some extent and came back from that. And then obviously the draw with Tank, we all understand, we all know what happened there, what actually happened there. So yeah, Isaac Cruz, this is a big prove it fight for him, because this is kind of set up for him also, given where the fight is. He's the champion technically. He's had higher billing throughout his career. He's going to have more fans, more of a fan base there, and he can lose his fight. He's had an opportunity like this, and Rayo Valenzuela took it to him and outboxed him and changed his style completely. So
yeah, and I think Lamont Roach is a lot more skilled than people think, and that they're giving him credit for. So this is going to be a good fight. Let's get to the next fight, Brian, which is Stephen Fulton and O'Shaquie Foster. I don't know who's going to win this fight. This is a fight where I'm really excited for this fight. I don't know who I'm picking though, because I think a lot of people sleep on O'Shaquie Foster.
You don't?
No, I think a lot of people do sleep on O'Shaquie Foster.
I'm stunned that you don't have a. I thought you would go with Stephen Fulton here. Just knowing you like I do.
Yeah. I'm a big Cool Boy Stuff fan, and I think he's looked better as he's moved up. Looked really good in his last fight, but O'Shaquie Foster is like a legit fighter that I think a lot of people don't give him credit for. I think this one goes the distance, and I think they're both going to get hit a lot, and they're both going to throw a lot in this fight. I think it's going to be close, very, very close.
You said you think they're going to get hit a lot. I feel like
Stephen Fulton gets hit a lot, dude. He does get hit a lot. Like, remember when he fought Heartbreak Kid?
Yes, but the knock that a lot of people, the first time, he corrected it the second time. The knock that a lot of people have on O'Shaquie Foster, though, is the inactivity within the fight. In terms of speaking about lulls, he'll have some lulls. He'll allow you to get back into the fight. The fight with Abraham Nova, for example, was a little dicey. The Conceição fights, plural, both of them, like he had periods of, hey, like you're kind of admiring your work a little bit. Why don't you go in there and actually, like, not just stand in front of your opponent and try to create this distance. He's a guy that Stephen Fulton could get rough with potentially and have some success, but I don't know if that's within Stephen Fulton's nature, given the way that they fight. So O'Shaquie Foster and Stephen Fulton, a fight that I think it's a great tactical boxing match, and I hope we get one. I also think there's a world where this is kind of boring because both guys are a little bit overly defensive and respectful of one another's counter-punching ability, speed, overall defense.
They are, but they aren't. Like, they both get hit. Like, it depends what type of fight we're going to get. And also, this is, like, Stephen Fulton, it's him moving up, right? Like, O'Shaquie's proven in this weight class.
This is his weight class. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like Cool Boy Stuff isn't proven in this weight class. So that's where I'm like, I don't know who I'm going to pick. I think a lot of people sleep on O'Shaquie Foster. O'Shaquie Foster is really, really good. And I think this is, other than Inoue, I think this is Cool Boy Steph's second biggest test.
This will surprise you then, because O'Shaquie's minus 122 and he's a slight favorite to beat Stephen Fulton at minus 104.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, look at the odds there. Like, I don't think anyone knows that.
I probably am going with O'Shaquie Foster by decision, but I don't feel great about it. I think that
Yeah.
this is a fight where it has draw written all over it, potentially plus 1,500. Yeah, I'm probably going to sprinkle all that. That might actually be my bet for this fight because I could just see this being a really, really 50-50-ish bout. I would be surprised if we're watching the fight and we're 4 rounds in and somebody's clearly up 4-0. But that
No,
happens
yeah.
sometimes. That
Yeah.
happens sometimes. Like we
I
didn't
don't
really
think it
anticipate
happens in
that
this
with like,
fight.
yeah, I don't think so either. We didn't anticipate that with Gary Antoine Russell and Rayo Valenzuela, and it did. But it happens sometimes in these types of fights. By the way, points: Stephen Fulton plus 145 to win by decision. O'Shaquie Foster plus 140 to win by decision.
Yeah, I'm not betting on this fight. I don't want to mess up my parlay. I'm just telling the truth because I think O'Shaquie's proven it in this weight class. I think Cool Boy Steph has looked better since his fight, since moving up. He has looked really good. And I think his power has translated a little bit more in these weight classes, which I think is good. Both of these guys are skilled. I'm not betting on this fight. It's going to be a really good fight, though, in my opinion. But yeah, the odds are interesting. I'll say this. I'm going for Cool Boy Steph, though. I'm going to be very clear here. I'm rooting for Stephen Fulton, but I just don't know who's going to win the fight. Why are you laughing? Of course, he's one of my favorite boxers, so I'm going to root for him. I'm going to obviously root for him, but I think it's a very tough fight for him because O'Shaquie Foster is a really, really good fighter. And I think people sleep on him because O'Shaquie has a loss too. And I think after that loss, people are so stupid with L's that if someone gets an L, they like write them off. Like this is boxing. Like you want to be fighting the best, and shout out to them too. Like they're legit fight. This is tough competition for both of them. So
Great
shout
fight.
out to them for making this fight. And Bryan, also we have isn't Shane Mosley Jr. fighting in this?
Yes, that's the other fight on the main card. I wonder if the Frank Martin fight gets elevated to the main card now.
It's a good fight. I don't know why that's not on the main card, the Frank Martin fight.
I think it's because they had 4, and if you put 5 on the main card, just like in the interest of time, Amazon might be like, yo, chill. Like 5 is a lot, especially with the lows in between. Typically, you'll get like 3 or 4. So I do wonder if the Frank Martin fight gets elevated, or if that's going to be the main event of the undercard, so to speak. Jesus Ramos and Shane Mosley Jr. is the other fight that we know is on the main card, and that's going to be for I think interim middleweight championship. It's not listed here because WBA.
Do you think Jesus Ramos gets the TKO or knockout on this one? Jesus Ramos is really good, but Shane Mosley Jr. is tough.
I think that Shane Mosley Jr. is on a run right now that I can't like. Jesus Ramos should win this, and to be clear, he probably should be undefeated. He got robbed in the Erickson Lubin fight. That's the only fight that he's lost. He should win this fight, and he's actually a heavy favorite, one of the heavier favorites that you're going to find on this card. Let's pull up the odds real quick. Minus 1450.
Wow, that's disrespectful to Shane Mosley Jr. That is the most disrespectful line I've seen in a minute, dude. That's crazy. Who's doing this? Like this, don't you think this fight's going to be closer than people think? Like Shane Mosley Jr. has been looking really good as of late.
He has 4 losses. The problem with Shane Mosley Jr. is the 4 losses early in his career. Like you think losses are overrated, and I agree. 4 of them, though, you know what I mean, is another thing. And he's got the 1.5-year layoff. To his credit, in his last fight, he did beat a since retired Danny Jacobs, who, by the way, Shantelle, I don't know if I told you this. I ran into Danny Jacobs at a Knick game last month.
Oh, okay. Do you see what's up?
Yeah. Not sure if he recognized me, but I have interviewed him a couple of times. But very good dude. Legitimately. I told you when I was on lockdown with his former trainer, Andre Rozier, when they had a gun in the Barclays Center. That's a story I've told here. I'm not going to tell it again right now. But if you've missed it, we could have story time another time. Anyway, but Danny Jacobs was there, just like on the concourse after the Knicks won against, I forget who, Grizzlies, I think. Josh Connolly, Demetrius Ballard. Like if you look at Shane Mosley Jr., rather, his resume, the Jason Quigley fight that he lost really, really could have been a draw. The Gabriel Rosado fight from a few years back, which one that we really, really liked, because Gabriel Rosado last fight notwithstanding, tends to deliver. So he's been in a lot of tough fights. Jesus Ramos, though, he's good, man. He's
Very
really
good.
good. Like, this
You're
is a
right.
showcase fight. Like, let's be clear.
Yeah, for sure. But I think it'll be entertaining. Let us know who you got in this fight if you think the line is disrespectful. And I do believe, I think our good friend of the show, Ryan Hong, said Shane Mosley Jr. is going all 12 against Ramos. Get in on that plus money now. I agree. I think Shane Mosley Jr. is this fight's gonna go to the distance because he's been looking really good. But Jesus Ramos super talented. I'd still take Jesus Ramos to win this fight. But I could see this one definitely going the distance. Remember, drop your comments. Let us know. Also, just a heads up, if on Saturday night you want to hang out after the show, we're doing a post-fight show. We're going to be covering all the fights. You can come hang out with us and tell us what you thought about the fights. Let us know how you betted, and we're going to be pretty much breaking down every fight on that card that we think is supposed to be broken down. What's up, Brian? You look confused.
Yeah, PBC says this is for an interim WBC middleweight title, and I'm wondering why that's not listed here on BoxRec. But this is the sport. This is what it is. Who cares at the end of the day? I mean, if it's for the interim WBC, then cool. Carlos Adames, you'll have a challenger. We haven't seen him since he outboxed Hamza Shiraz earlier this year, and that was in February. We'd like to see him again. Jesus Ramos, also worth noting, he is moving up in weight because he had been fighting for the most part. He did beat Jason Rosario at middleweight, but he had been fighting for the most part and cutting down a lot, I might add, to 154. So we will see what this means for Shane Mosley Jr. In terms of Ryan Hong's bet. Shane Mosley Jr., by the way, his last fight was at super middleweight, so he's going to be cutting down. He's fought a bunch of times at super middleweight, as a matter of fact. So the weight difference is going to be interesting here because you have kind of a natural 168 pounder against a guy who's been fighting at 154 for the most part, and they're going to meet in the middle. We'll see what happens. In terms of Ryan Hong's bet, just real quick, Jesus Ramos by decisions plus 155, Shane Mosley by decision, if you're interested in the upset, plus 1,000, which I don't know if it's that crazy, but maybe he'll just whoop Shane Mosley's ass and whatever. I'm probably not betting on this. I'm probably not betting on this fight. I don't feel the need to do it, really. I don't have like a strong inclination. I do, but I'm not going to get value on it. You know, Jesus Ramos, by the way, group round betting 7-12 plus 160. Maybe that's the way to do it. But I want to give Shane Mosley some respect because he's never been stopped before. So
yeah, exactly. I like Jesus Ramos going the distance and winning by decision in this one. But let us know, drop your slips. Remember, we're having the post-fight show. So after the final fight, we'll be hanging out. And make sure to come and join us and drop your comments, and we'll be breaking down those fights. Brian, any final thoughts before we get up and out of here?
Yeah, curious to see what happens with Janibek and with Subriel Matias. But if this sport shows you anything, Ryan Garcia got lifted off the suspension and immediately got a title shot, got his ass whooped, and now it looks like he might get another title shot despite getting his ass whooped. So, or maybe that's just Ryan Garcia. So we'll see what happens.
See you on Saturday.